Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 18 of What If Naruto Was a Badass Genius. Remember to get this one to 200 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also stay in tune for What If Naruto was sent to the Marvel world, and enjoy that guys. And also I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto was banished and gathered all the Jinchurikis over an Anime King 2. I'm also going to be posting What If Naruto was a smart prodigy. So stay in tune for those, and I hope you guys do enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin this new episode. Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their
So, the last time we left off, Naruto met up with Ino, as he had to tell her that he wouldn't be training her, as he was going on a 3-year training trip. After hearing that, Ino just got up, as she didn't say anything and left. But Naruto wasn't really bothered, as he just stood there. An Anvu then flashed beside him, one of his root Anvus, as Naruto told them to continue the search on Orochimaru, as he wanted to find out if that redhead with him is a Uzumaki. Later that day, Naruto was all packed and ready, as him, Yujo, Sasuke and his mother was ready to go, as Kakashi called Naruto as he spoke to him outside about something. When Naruto got back, they all flashed away to a secret location, as Yujo was surprised to see Itachi there, but Naruto told her to calm down, that he will explain. As from then their training trip began. The 3 years then passed rather quickly, as the group came back to Konoha, as Yujo said their goodbyes, as she missed her friends and she wanted to see them. As Sasuke wanted to walk through the village, as he wanted to see the village as his brother risked his life for, as Naruto let a clone follow him, as he wanted to see the reaction of the people now. So with that, Naruto's mother went to the Hokage's tower as they met Tsunade, as Kushina remembers Tsunade as she knew her from a long time ago, seeing that Mito was her grandmother after all, and Kushina was always there talking to the elderly woman. As Naruto then started to talk to Tsunade, as she told him if he doesn't show his full skills, she will give him D and C rank mission alone, as the rest of the others have get promoted, and Naruto said that it was best for him not to start anything with new Hokage. So she told him that tomorrow he must come, as she wanted to see his skills. So with that, Naruto left as he headed home. Sasuke headed home as well, as Mikoto was happy to see her son as she hugged him, as he apologized for what happened with Itachi, as she told him that that was Itachi's choice, but his big brother loved him anyway, as she was happy to see her son how much he has grown, as she wondered how much Naruto has grown, as she couldn't wait anymore. As Naruto was at the Senju compound, he slowly opened his eyes and he saw Mikoto right in front of him, as the only way for her to get in here was because he knew her. If it was anyone else, they would have died. As Naruto asked her if she's sad about Itachi, that must be the reason why she crawled in his bed, as he remembered comforting his mother when she was crying. As she then climbed on top of him, as she told him not to tell his mother about this. The next day, Tsunade and the others were gathered up, as Tsunade was waiting on Naruto to arrive. As Jiraiya told her that Naruto has been here the entire time, as she looked up in the trees and saw him resting. As Naruto looked over the adult Ino, as she has grown a lot, but she simply turned her head away from him, and the grown Hinata as well. As Shikamaru, Neji and Lee and Hinata has all become Genins, and the rest are Chunins, and Shino will be getting promoted soon, as Naruto and Sasuke face each other as it was time that they battle, as now they want to see what level they're on. So yeah guys, that was basically the last where we left off. You guys can switch your cards to place and check it out for yourself, so let's start this new episode. Both Naruto and Sasuke were looking at each other. Sasuke vanished in a second with blinding speed as he appeared in front of Naruto. Naruto jumped back from the blade that would have cut right through his chest. In an instant, Sasuke flashed behind him and stabbed him right through his back. But Naruto burst into crows as they flew a distance away from Sasuke as they gathered around and formed Naruto. As he just stood there with a calculated look on his face, watching Sasuke. Sasuke's blade started to crackle with lightning as he dashed towards Naruto once again. This time around, Naruto dashed towards him, matching his speed. Sasuke flicked his wrist as a kunai popped up, as he thrust the kunai straight towards Naruto's forehead. Naruto ducked under the kunai as he continued to charge the Sasuke. Within a second, he was an inch away from the Uchiha. As Naruto brought up a fist to send towards Sasuke's face, Sasuke vanished in a blur as he appeared behind Naruto a distance away as he speed through hand sign, fire style, fireball jutsu. Naruto formed a larger Sengun as he slammed it into the fireball, cancelling out the attack. As Sasuke dashed forward in the chaos of the smoke, as he aimed his blade towards Naruto's chest, as he was expecting Naruto to dodge, but to his surprise, the blade went through Naruto's shoulder as Naruto was only able to tilt a bit. As Sasuke spun around, this was his chance, as he delivered a brutal kick in Naruto's chest, sending Naruto flying away. Sasuke leaped up in the air as he came down towards Naruto, his blade crackling with lightning. Naruto quickly flipped off the ground and Sasuke hit it with a loud boom. In a burst of speed, Naruto appeared in front of Sasuke. Sasuke brought his blade downwards on Naruto again, but Naruto tilted his body, as he then grabbed Sasuke by the face and smashed his head downwards into the ground. Sasuke slammed his knee into Naruto's stomach, pushing him off. As Sasuke got up, Sasuke blurred out of sight and appeared behind Naruto. As Naruto spun around, wind burst. It was a simple jutsu that blasted everything away from him. Sasuke jumped back. Something was wrong. What is wrong with you? You're distracted. I shouldn't have been able to cut you so easily. What is distracting you? Sasuke asked. As Sasuke could tell something was up with him, he wasn't even fighting seriously. He wasn't taking this seriously. With the others, how can he say this is boring when we're hardly able to see anything? They're moving too fast, Kiba said, as he couldn't even see them most of the time because of their speed. Because Naruto's mind is elsewhere, Hinata said, in a calm and firm tone. In all my days of training with him, I have never seen him like this. Sasuke should have not cut him, and he shouldn't be able to get behind him at this stage. I have to say I'm rather shocked, perhaps even puzzled. I never thought this would happen. As Shikamaru just narrowed his eyes at Naruto, it was certain that his mind was on something. It must be something nice, Kakashi said, with a perverted eye smile. As Jiraiya snorted, thinking about what the Jonin was suggesting. Naruto has never shown the slightest interest in the opposite sex. But if something did happen, it would confuse him and make him overthink it. If he doesn't get serious, he can kiss the promotion goodbye, Tsunade said in a firm tone. Back with Naruto. Naruto shook his head. I guess you're right. I have come to experience something unique, and it has confused me slightly. I just can't get the experience out of my head, he said. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Well, that's surprising. He then shook his head again. It's about time we get this over with. I have matters to discuss with the 5th Hokage. Now Sasuke, come. Time skip. About an hour later, the Hokage's office. Naruto was sitting in the office with both Jiraiya and Tsunade watching him carefully. Well, more like analyzing him. As Tsunade could not understand what made him so special. Sure, he was a Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and the son of Elite, Minato Namikaze, but he hardly did anything to make him that special. The fact that he was a Jinchuriki went unnoticed in his fight with Sasuke, as he did not use any of the Fox power. She sighed as she leaned against her chair. First, I want to thank you for getting rid of Danzo, she said. The old man should have done it a long time ago, but he lacked the backbone and allowed that old treacherous man to continue to live. However, should you do something like that without being given the order, you will face certain punishment or even death or exile from this village. Tsunade said in a serious tone. The banishment will do since you're a Jinchuriki. Trying to execute you will only free the Kyuubi. I have no such plans, Naruto said. As he should have probably told her that coming up with a threat like that wouldn't work against him, as he wasn't scared the slightest. But he decided to keep those thoughts to himself. It will be troublesome to start a fight with this woman, because as long as he got what he wanted and she got what she wanted, they should all be happy. But he wasn't expecting things to go smoothly. There will be disagreements. and he's sure by the time he leaves this place there will be one already. I hope so, said Tsunade. We have made an agreement with the San to ensure what happened does not happen again. Your marriage with Temari will still go ahead, but this time there will be no loopholes to get out of it. Whether you like it or not, you will get married to her. When you turn 18, she will move into this village. As Tsunade's eyebrow twitched because his emotion hasn't changed even once, his face does remain the same. Jiraiya then spoke. I guess this is something that you expected. As Naruto didn't seem surprised by the news, and that Tsunade was forcing him to do it. It is a good decision, Naruto said. Keeping Temari in this village means that Gaara won't let his council do anything or plot anything when I have his sister in my hands. Tsunade narrowed her eyes sharply. I did not mention that Gaara was a new Kazekage. Your statement suggests that you know, and that isn't something that has made public yet. I thought you would have more of a less brutal thought about the issue, given your past relationship with those siblings. A matter of the past, Naruto said. How did you know, she asked. Any rational mind would assume the same, Naruto said. And you just confirmed that I'm right. Besides, my statement didn't say that Gaara is a new Kazekage. I merely said that he won't do anything stupid, and won't allow his council to do anything stupid either. So, is there anything else he asked? Yes, Jiraiya said, the Akatsuki. If he was expecting Naruto to say something or add something about it, he was disappointed. I am listening, that was the only thing that Naruto said. This is a matter that affects Konoha security, and we want your cooperation. You must know that you're after Jinchurikis, and we cannot let them get them, and resistance can leave this village open for an attack from the organization, Tsunade said. I will give you what I know, Naruto said calmly, but I have most things covered. I want the same pass as Jiraiya. Tsunade stared at him before she burst into laughter. After calming down, she said no. It was a firm no. You're not really someone we trust. If we trust you enough, then maybe we can think about it. I was merely making a suggestion to make things easier for you, Naruto said, as he stood up. Soon enough you will reconsider. For now, I can let it slide. And with that he vanished from the office. That was a rather measured display, Jiraiya said, as Shikaku appeared from the shadows. But a smart move, said Shikaku. He speaks much measured. This is going to be troublesome. Well, at least there is no thought of him leaving this village. If he knows the threat of the Akatsuki, he won't leave this village because it offers him protection. And also, his mother is happy. What is your judgment then? Asked Navi. Nothing to worry about. For now at least, said Shikaku. But since he asked for the same pass as a Sannin, I imagine he will be probably coming and going out of the village regularly. That means he has connections outside, or at least places he wants to see to something. Without doubt, it is nothing that threatens Konoha, but it is curious. At the ramen shack, as it was a few minutes later, as Naruto and Kakashi were having meals. It has been long since we last ate here, Kakashi said quietly. I am much more interested. What has been a distraction to you, Kakashi said, with an eye smile. I was distracted, but not anymore, Naruto said calmly. Are you going to tell me? Asked Kakashi. Naruto did not say anything. Well, Kakashi was best suited for this. He would not tell his mother. But Mikoto told him not to tell anyone. He said he would not, as that was certainly a puzzling thing that left him with a lot of emotions that he never thought that he had. But he made a promise. There is nothing to tell, Kakashi. Oh, come on, said Kakashi. Does it have anything to do with Mikoto? He asked. As Yujo told Kakashi that it probably has something to do with Mikoto, and she left the compound yesterday, and she looked quite bubbly. How did Yujo know? She was watching because she was curious, because the hints were there before they left the village. According to Yujo, Naruto was perfectly fine before she left him, but after, Mikoto went to visit him at the Senju compound. That is when he started acting strange. Naruto did not show any outward reaction towards Mikoto's name. That left Kakashi quite disappointed because he thought he would get something. After a few moments of silence, Naruto spoke. How well is your control over the Mangekyo Sharingan now? What? We're not going to talk about how things have been in the past years and how much you have missed me? Asked Kakashi. I didn't say I miss you, Kakashi. What is there to miss? Naruto asked. Who knows, Kakashi said. as he shrugged. If you did not, we wouldn't be sitting here. Nothing further was said as Mikato's voice spoke behind them, as she was holding an umbrella with a slight smile on her face, her eyes slightly closed. Kakashi-san, she greeted with a smile. As Kakashi gave her a smile, "Can I steal Naruto for a bit?" she asked. Our conversation wasn't really going anywhere, said Kakashi, but he knew that the woman wasn't giving him an option. "Naruto, we're meeting later around 7 PM for a barbecue. Be there. Your peers will also be there as well, and Sasuke as well." Naruto merely nodded and got up from his stool as he turned to face Mikoto. "Where's your smile?" she said to him. "Hold this, will you?" As she gave him the umbrella, as Kakashi just watched as the both of them walk away, as Naruto's holding the umbrella as they were like a couple. As he smiled, what would Jiraiya say about that? He would certainly make something out of that. Time skip at the Senju compound. Naruto stared at the half-naked woman on top of him. He was allowing himself to be led, because he was simply curious. This was what adults did. If he ended up getting married, this is what he would do. But he was very pleased. It was a very intoxicating pleasure. He had never looked at a human like this before. He had never caressed a human like this, allowing his emotions to burst out. "I had a feeling that when you come back, you'd be like this," Mikoto said, as she rested her head on Naruto's chest. "Like what?" Naruto asked. "Your face," said Mikoto. "You spend most of your childhood working out things, difficult things with a third. There was always a puzzle that needed to be solved. And that made your life entertaining. Whether you want to admit it or not, you enjoy the thrill of life. You always want a mental challenge, something that will puzzle you. As things stand now, there is no one to challenge you. The third is dead and Snazzy doesn't play that kind of games. And Orochimaru is an oddball, but he can be predictable because of his nature. Nevertheless, you're not being challenged and there is no puzzle, and that makes your life boring. And other from that, you cannot be entertained. But yesterday you smiled with the contacts in your eyes, but the background did not change." Naruto was silent as his hands wrapped around Mikoto's shoulder as it gave him a strange pleasure, as this was a secret that couldn't be coming out in the light. It felt real, but not real. "Your heartbeat is calm and your body is warm. Do you think I'm forcing you to do something bad? I didn't give you a chance, and I know that you wouldn't refuse me. Do you think that I'm a selfish woman that is taking advantage of you and has already taken away your innocence?" she asked. "Because of your soft spot for me." "What do you call this?" Naruto asked. There was a reason he wasn't answering her questions, because she was wrong. She was not forcing him to do anything. He was indulging this because he wanted to do it. He was enjoying it a lot. "An illicit affair," she said. "Me and your mother are in the same age group, yet I'm sleeping with you. It would be like a betrayal to Kushina, which is why she should never know, Sasuke especially. A little voice in my head said that I'm a predator, but it's been long since I've been in this embrace." "Do you think it feel wrong, Naruto?" she asked as she looked him dead in the eyes. Time skip, 2 hours later. "Has your life become that peaceful that you would allow yourself to be distracted like that?" Sasuke asked Naruto as he was walking to Naruto as Naruto was sitting in a meditative position at the back of his house. There was Anko watching. You know they might not have better opinion of you, and the Hokage was not impressed. This was really strange. Sasuke was reprimanding him for making careless mistakes. It seems that the roles have changed. He was the one who was always doing this. Well, Sasuke depended on him to think as well, so if he screwed up things, he screwed up things for the both of them. "Where is this peace you speak of?" Sasuke, Naruto asked. "Then why were you distracted?" Sasuke said. As Sasuke activated Sharingan, as he wanted to see if any twitch was on Naruto, if he do anything, as he wanted to know if he was lying or telling the truth. As normal eyes wouldn't be able to spot it if Naruto does react. "Personal matters," Naruto said calmly. "I have managed to resolve it though. You don't need to know and I hope you never know." As he wouldn't go as far and said he was guilty, because Mikoto was wrong. If he didn't want to do something, she could not make him do it. She did not have that kind of hold on him, so for now he will just let her believe that. He had allowed her to do what she wanted because he was just curious when she just started. He wanted to see if Yujiro was right, and yes, she was right. Perhaps he should reward her for it. Still, the experience wasn't something he could explain or something someone could explain to him by words. It was just different. I hope you have, Sasuke said, resolved your problems. Perhaps having too many tools at your disposal is a bad influence on you. Back then you had to do everything on your own while fighting your battles. However, these days you don't have to do anything, they do it for you. Is this why you are always bored? Everything has become easy, there's nothing to challenge me. There isn't a problem in having tools, but there's this. Naruto shook his head, stopped talking, as he looked at Sasuke firmly. What do you want? We didn't discuss what we will be doing. When we return to the village, I'm going to be doing missions and looking after my clan from now on. But there are enemies that need to be erased. Enemies, yes, we do have. Patience is virtue. If you become impatient, you will move at the wrong moment, and everything you have planned will be destroyed in a second. One careless move and the enemy will stab you in the back, not just the enemy, but even people you trust. This is a shinobi world and anything is possible, Naruto said. Yu-Gi-Oh for example. Sarutobi pushed her to me so she could spy on me, but now things have changed. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, he didn't know about that little information, but if Naruto knew about it, why did he keep her close? Why is she still around, Sasuke asked. My mother seemed to like her, and her mission died with the third. I have studied her over the past years, and she seemed to see us as family. For now, focus on your clan, Sasuke. I will tell you when we're ready to tear our enemies apart. How do we stand with the Hokage? To be able to move freely in the village, we need her to... Sasuke stopped as he sensed someone. We have a guess. We will continue this discussion later, but I'm curious to hear what the Hyuga has to say to you. Sasuke did not leave as he just stood there as Hinata made their way towards them. As she had grown, as Sasuke could acknowledge that. Her eyes were different, they were not the eyes of the innocent little girl that he had known back then, in Team 7. Sasuke smiled. Well, someone has grown, he said. Hinata smiled back at Sasuke. You have matured as well, Sasuke, she said. What are you doing here, Hinata, Naruto asked, without looking at her. Perhaps it sounds rude when they haven't spoken in some time, but Hinata knew why he was asking the question. She did not expect it, but she understood why he was asking, as she did remember their last conversation. I know what I said the last time, and I'm sure my father would be happy to learn that I was here. This is the only chance I will get to speak to you today though. I'm sure from tomorrow you will be a busy person. Later on, Ino would probably seek after you, Hinata said. I would rather have no petty talks with your father. Not right now, Naruto said. I said my father will not be happy, but that doesn't mean he can actually do something about it. As I am now, he does get to tell me who my friends are, Hinata said. I have a request, she said. Naruto turned towards her as he looked into her eyes. You have lost some of your innocence that made me value you above wretched humans. Well, I did expect this world to tame you, but you have not become one of this world, he said. What is your request? I want you to talk to Neji. He's perhaps the strongest, and the clan prodigy, but if he is to remain by my side, he must understand certain things and be a lot stronger. I just need you to take him under your wing for a little while. What do I gain by doing that? Naruto asked. An ally, Hinata said. Neji is certainly smart, and he's more level-headed than Sasuke. No offense, she said, looking at Sasuke. When you become clan head, you will support Sasuke when I say so. And I might need a few favors every now and then, he said. Tomorrow, 5 PM, you know the spot, he said to her. Later that day, Ino called Naruto as he was walking away from the restaurant they'd been in with their so-called friends. Naruto stopped, but he did not turn around. You did not speak to me throughout the whole night, even though everyone engaged both me and Sasuke. Ino stopped an inch away from his back. I thought that perhaps I was no longer your Black Knight. At the term, Ino nearly smiled, nearly. She used to call him that in their younger days. Black had fitted him because he was a gloomy person. Well, no, it didn't fit. Perhaps our Crimson Knight will do. She shook her head as she was thinking too far off. Ino held out her hands. She wanted to wrap them around him, but she hesitated because she didn't know how he would react. They did not part in good terms, and even though he written to her, she did not respond to his letters. Well, it was just one with a few training tips. She did not respond because she was angry for him leaving her behind. Even though she missed him, she dearly missed him, but she was still mad at him. But she couldn't hold out anymore. After a long moment, she wrapped her arms around him, burying her face in his back. As she held on to him tight, she didn't want him to go. She didn't want him to leave her alone. He left her and she was miserable. How many nights had she spent thinking about the moments they had spent together? As she wanted to tell him that she was both angry and happy that he was back, but the words did not come from her mouth. As she wanted to tell him that she received his letter, and she pushed herself and trained as hard as she could with Hinata. As she wanted to tell him that she has become a kunoichi, someone who could be useful to him. But the words did not come, so she just held on to him. Time skip. Naruto was standing still in the forest of death, with his eyes closed, as he was trying to visualize the surrounding area with his eyes closed, trying to train his senses. Being in this village with no training, no physical battle to fight, it was a waste. He should have already been away doing something useful. And he couldn't even train in peace. When you smell like that, you're easy to spot, Naruto said. Continuing this would only annoy me. Anko jumped from the tree that she was hiding in. I am a little insulted about what you just said, she said, but her expression and her tone said otherwise. Naruto did not turn to face her as he took his time to respond to her. I was talking about snakes and your undesirable taste for blood. I could feel the intention from where you were standing, the urge to strike, as you lick your lips. Anko blinked. Actually, the thought did come to her mind to attack him when he was not looking, but she refrained from doing so when she saw that he wasn't moving. He didn't even look at her. How did he know? Perhaps he was merely making an assumption on his past interaction with her. I was forgetting that you were the brat that embarrassed Orochimaru in this forest those years ago. Anko said with a smile as she rather liked that memory. How she wished she could have seen it. She would have rolled over laughing. I don't know if I was a brat, Naruto said as he turned, but I did engage Orochimaru in this forest. As he turned and faced Anko, as Anko looked at him, he was no longer a brat, as he was a man now, and that look in his eyes made her feel slightly excited, even though she wouldn't say it out loud. What are you doing here by yourself? Have you grown old enough that you can leave your mother's side now? She asked. I was fishing, and it seems like I caught you, Naruto said. Then what are you going to do now like how you caught me? Anko asked in a playful manner. But she was disappointed when she heard what he said. I'm going to toss you back and get out of here, he said. Anko frowned slightly. You're bored, she said. Why don't we do something fun? I'm also bored. As Anko leaped forward, the kunai in her hand, as she thrust it towards Naruto's face, she had every intention to pierce him if he do not block the blow. Naruto grabbed Anko's wrist, stopping the kunai right in front of his face. His hold on her wrist was firm, almost like an iron grip, and Anko could not move her hand. She winced a bit as she extended her left hand as two snakes rushed towards Naruto's face. Naruto grabbed both of the snakes viciously and snapped them in half. Snakes are such dangerous creatures, aren't they? One vicious strike by one of them with your venom and you're dead. Anko frowned as she was disabled so easily. He was not letting go of her hand, and his grip was so tight. Even though he didn't look like it, he obviously possessed some incredible physical powers. Naruto slowly released her. As the moment he did, she spun around as she aimed a kick towards his face, but Naruto simply tilted back his head, watching the kick pass him. As Naruto didn't want to fight her, so he spoke. You're familiar with you, J.O. and Kurenai, correct? As Anko stopped, yes, she said. You stole Kurenai's favorite student, but I have to say you turned her into a fine kunoichi. I would have been proud myself. Of course, she would have made a few tweaks personality-wise with Hinata, but she was happy. Of Hinata's massive improvement. If you're familiar with those two, then talking to you should not be dangerous, Naruto said. When Danzo became the Hokage, I felt like my time had come, that I would be his little weapon, his tool. Just like how you were Orochimaru's precious apprentice. I could not have that, and so I gathered a powerful ally and eliminate Danzo. Anko blinked. She wasn't surprised that he was managed to do something like that. It had become a village gossip that the elders and the other council members were hiding something considering Danzo. A single man had claimed to do it at Anvu, but they know little about him and his power, so it was hard to believe. There was also the fact that Danzo just became Hokage, as it was known that many clan heads did not like the man. But to think that he done it, especially when he was just a brat. Anko burst out laughing thoughting of it. As she was laughing so hard she had to sit down to compose herself. Ridiculous things had happened in this world, but this just made my day, Anko said, with a wide grin. Most clan heads suspected me, but they came to our decision to let it slide because it was for the best of Konoha. Yes, there has been an impression that I am a dangerous person that must be watched always. Koharu and Homura has persuaded Hayashi to mistrust me massively. For now there isn't much, but sooner or later they will get in my way. Anko narrowed her eyes. It seemed to me like you're requesting a favor. But I don't do freebies, even if Yujeo has grown quite attached to you and your family. Know that she's living with you. My mother has even thought about adopting her to the Uzumaki clan, Naruto said, with a shake of his head. But in essence, yes, I do need a favor from you. I have enemies in this village and a few friends. But I could use a bit of friends. Anko snorted at the thought of friendship. He just wanted something from her. But nevertheless, he was an interesting person to say at the least. I do plan on killing Orochimaru one day. Perhaps I will take you with me, Naruto said. Well then, Anko, he says. He looked up. We will talk soon. Perhaps we might do a mission together. Wait, Anko said. She didn't agree to anything, but he was speaking like it was already a done deal. Why are you coming to me, she asked. While neither of us care for how the villagers treat us, I think we're in a similar boat. To be able to understand each other. You're also Yujeo's friend. My mother wishes that those who are friends with Yujeo must be close to us as well. Though, honestly speaking, your bad tendencies wouldn't do well to my mother. In any case, Yujeo has been nothing but a trustworthy person, and it won't be bad to extend a hand to her friends. Life was becoming boring anyway, said Anko with a shrug. How about a bottle of sake to celebrate? I don't drink, Naruto said. Anko stared as she waited for him to say that he was joking, but he did not. You've been killing people since you were in the academy, and you're telling me that you can't drink? It isn't that I can't, I just don't. In time, he said. You're strange, or perhaps that you're one of those stuck-up brats. Naruto was about to say something, but he quickly changed it. You're a lot different from Yujeo or Kunai. I wonder how you get along. I wouldn't mind doing something else with you, like eating though. It would be curious to see how the villagers would act with me walking with you. You like testing things, don't you? Naruto shrugged. It is important that I do, as he was just bored and he liked to test interesting things. Ramen will do, yes, he said. No, Anko said. Dangos. Timeskip. Mikoto stood at the door frame at Naruto's house, as her arms were crossed over her chest, as Naruto was going through some files, but there was still a bit of boredom in his eyes, as she wondered what she has to do to kill off that boredom. Wasn't what she was doing enough? Well, Naruto's a special case. It seems that she will have to do more. What are you looking at, she said, as she walked in and sat down, as she would have sit on a desk to face him. But it would be dangerous. Kushina or Yujeo could walk in at any moment. Nothing particular, Naruto said. I thought that perhaps I may be able to find something interesting if I browse these files. Well, I have something interesting for you, she said. Naruto turned and faced her. I just come from a meeting with the clan heads. Previously, I abstained from going to the meetings, but because Sasuke is back, I thought it would be good if I do so. So that when he take over for me, it wouldn't be that hard for him to warm up to it. Understandable, Naruto said, a small nod. When do you think you're going to relinquish your duties to him? As Naruto knew that Sasuke was still a bit childish sometimes. He has grown, but he was not ready to lead the clan. Not anytime soon, said Mikoto. Sasuke isn't like you. He's still a child despite everything. You stopped being a child all those years ago. And there's a lot I have to teach him, she said. Your name came up in the meeting. Caution was the subject at hand, but the Hokage didn't seem worried that much. I suspect that isn't the case though, but Shikaku seemed to support you a lot. He appeared to have an understanding how a part of you thinks. Not surprising, Naruto said. Perhaps I must pay Shikamaru a visit. He did go all out to befriend me in the academy. Well, Hayashi doesn't like you, said Mikoto. But that is something for another day. She then paused. What are you doing later on? I have a date with Ino, Naruto said. She insisted on it, or else. She told me she would try to ruin everything when Temari come here. Or she would just haunt me for the rest of my life. It had slipped Mikoto's mind that the siblings were coming to the village tomorrow. How could she forgotten about that? She shook her head. That wasn't important. What was important that Naruto was going on a date? That is new, she said. I wasn't aware that you became so famous with the ladies. You have Yujeo running around here rampant. There would be Temari, and now Ino? Ino was a childhood friend. While I might not admit it to her, I was quite fond of her personality at least. But when she turned out to be a weak kunoichi, it slightly diminished, but now, she has grown. That may be true, It also reached my attention that you were seen around the village with a certain lady, Midarashi Anko. I assume there's an ulterior motive behind that, but it still doesn't please me. Naruto looked at her curiously. Why, he said. Mikoto stared at the blonde for a moment. Sometimes she realized that he wasn't really experiencing these things. You're with me, Naruto, and I will not just allow any woman to just take you away from me. Admittedly, I may be getting jealous because I'm not getting younger and you have girls your age who can keep up your energy level. As Naruto thought to himself first before speaking, you speak as if I have any interest in women looking for that sort of thing. While I would admit the pleasure is something, I still have no interest in seeking out women. My mother would like me to settle down one day and have a family, but I don't see that happening. Mikoto smiled. A lot can change in years, she said. Plus, I plan to change you. I'm sad that we can't settle down one day. It wouldn't bother me to call you husband, she said, a laugh. As Naruto frowned, he was not frowning because he was displeased. It was that she was coming in with these emotions. Some of them he didn't understand and he didn't want to feel. It would change the way he viewed a lot of things. He didn't want to open up his little bottle. There will be feelings that he will be hit with, that he would find rather strange. But he was going to have to change, as his mother didn't want to die without seeing any grandchildren. And he did care for Mikoto, he truly did. She was becoming an important person as the day go by. Husband, Naruto said. That thought could only bring Temari in mind though. She has been in his mind for quite some time. But since the Orochimaru thing, those thoughts have been slowly drifting away. My wants aside, said Mikoto, snapping from his thoughts. It wouldn't hurt if you get another girl, even though I wouldn't like it. I do need someone to cover for me. I'm afraid it will create quite the scandal if this broke out, and it will jeopardize my relationship with your mother. Sasuke won't be happy either, so we have to keep this between us no matter what. You're not planning on taking Ino to the Senju compound, are you? I mean later on after your date. Naruto just gave her a blank stare. She shook her head as she laughed. What was she even thinking? Naruto wasn't thinking about that. She then got up and she leaned closer and whispered in his ears. Midnight, I'll be waiting for you in my room. Time skip, later on the training ground. Neji looked at Naruto as Naruto was just looking back at him. Naruto, it has been a long time, Lee said. I still remember our last fight. I hope we can do it again. Neji frowningly spoke. He didn't understand why Lee was here in the first place. He shouldn't have made the mistake to say that he was going to meet with Naruto after their training session. He should have just said he had something to do. Don't you get tired, Neji asked. You were just doing some ridiculous exercises with Guy Sensei. This is a chance I cannot miss. Naruto beat me the last time. I want to see if he can still do it. If I can, then I have not progressed in my training at all. Then I must double, no, triple my efforts. Naruto then spoke. I was hoping that I could get to talk to you, but the weather isn't right. In any case, I am much more interested in seeing what you can do. I heard that you became Jonin before everyone else. Weather? Neji thought. He realized that Naruto was talking about Lee. Naruto wanted to probably talk about some sensitive matters, but there could be other time for that. I can't spend much time either here, said Neji. Shall we get this over with? And you're going to have to pose a better challenge than what you did with Sasuke. Lee, don't interfere, Neji said, as he went into a fighting stance. As Naruto just motioned for Neji to come at him. As Neji dashed forward, as he stretched out his palm to strike Naruto in the chest, but Naruto grabbed his hand with so much force that Neji came to a stop. No one should be able to grab his hand like that. The chakra in his hand should have hit the person's hand if someone is doing something as risky as that. I have seen enough, Naruto said, as he was not impressed. When you have a better attitude in battle, try to fight me again. At this state, I would break you. I'm not saying that you're not skilled, but your attitude is wrong. Just because I didn't perform when facing Sasuke, that didn't mean it was the best I can do. Arrogance is a poison to a shinobi. Don't allow it to fool you, but Naruto was cut off as Lee flashed behind him with a kick to the back of Naruto's head, but Naruto ducked under the kick. Naruto pulled Neji towards him with so much force. Despite seeing it, Neji couldn't stop it as Naruto thrust him over his shoulder. As Lee caught Neji as Naruto was already walking off, as he waved his hand, but he was looking at them. We will have a sparring session someday, Lee, but not today. Feeling slightly embarrassed, Neji forced Lee to let him go. I could have balanced myself and landed on my feet, he said. Time skip. Naruto was in the office. As Jiraiya was sitting down as Naruto was looking through the window, this was the first time he was standing here. It was usually the chair, or just standing at the door. What does Koharu and Homura have against you? Tsunade asked. For as long as she has been Hokage, the both of them have tried to do some damage to his reputation. It was very apparent that they did not like him at all. They are just bitter that I got away with killing Danzo, Naruto said. I must be this dangerous person who cannot be allowed to walk in the village freely. I committed treason by killing a sitting Kage, but majority of the clan heads decide against it because they know a future with Danzo as a leader would be destruction. Your motives are questionable, said Tsunade. I want to hear from you, why did you do it? There was always an assumption that the third was weak and he was not able to make the right decisions when it mattered, but that was false. Yes, he allowed Danzo to live even after he tried to kill him and many things he did behind the old man's back, but no, he was not weak. I know it from first hand, he was manipulated, cunning, and an honorable old man. The image of a soft old man suited him well, so he could do what he can in the dark. The only reason why Danzo lived is because the man thought he was useful, as long as he was Hokage after all. That still doesn't answer the question, Tsunade said. Naruto looked through the window and looked back in the office. It was for my safety and my mother's, he said. I don't need to explain anything to you in detail, I am sure Jiraiya already told you that. Danzo wanted to turn me into a weapon. And for him to become Hokage, he would have tried. As Tsunade thought over things, why do you want a free pass, she asked. I am rather surprised that they are willing to indulge me. Naruto said to Tsunade, well, Kages always think for the best for the village, and for the people that they lead. Well, I prefer it in this manner. So, I will refrain from doing anything that would bring disaster to Konoha. Then answer the question, said Jiraiya. As he knew what Naruto was doing, he was trying to distract them by talking about something else. But they were senior shinobis, they still have their mind on the main thing. But guys, be ending this episode right here. If you want to see the next part, if you already know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, cheers to all of your friends, your social media platform. But I'm out for now, guys. Peace.